Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 551. I'm Brian Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined by Sacha Black, aka Ruby Rowe, who has done all sorts of amazing courses on writing craft, but this year is just like, I don't know, some kind of TikTok, Instagram celebrity over here. How are you, Sacha?
Hello, thank you for having me. I
Of
have listened to your show
course.
for ages. I sort of go in these phases of like audiobook listening or podcasts. But I was, when you were with Jim back in the day, I used to listen. So it's a real honor to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I've had the pleasure of being on your wonderful podcast. So definitely it's a joy to trade after all this time.
Absolutely. Thank you
So
for having me.
of course. My goodness, we were talking off the air. The fiction, it wasn't where you wanted it to be in 2023. It was only a small part. You had your amazing courses on craft writing, on villains, on writing better villains, all this great stuff. You had your one-on-one coaching, and then you just became TikTok sensation. You became I love getting your Instagrams. I definitely get your Ruby type Instagrams because I'm so the target audience,
Yeah,
of
right.
course. And it's amazing. I mean, tell everyone a little bit who maybe didn't know that your 2024 had changed drastically. Tell them a little bit what happened.
Yeah, okay. So I don't even mind sharing numbers. I'm quite open with it. So I know
Nice,
that that's
nice.
not something that people always do, but just, sort of trigger warning, if you don't like hearing numbers, I'm about to share some numbers. So in 2022, mid 2022, I knew that whilst I love nonfiction and I will go back to writing nonfiction, I left the day job to write fiction. And so I basically had to make the choice whether or not I decrease what I'm doing in order to give time and throw everything into fiction. So I took that choice, which financially was a hit. So by January 2023, I had made just like £1,000 on Amazon in sales. And I think it was like 13 quid or something was fiction, something like that. And then I published my first fiction in February 2023. I'm now about to publish book 6 in December 2024. So you're looking at kind of 2 years at that point. But come July of this year, I made £30,000 in sales, pure fiction, of which about 250 quid was nonfiction. So I kind of did this complete 180. And it's all thanks to social media, TikTok, a little tiny weeny bit of ads. I'll be honest, like not a huge amount. I'm probably spending $5 or $6 a year on ads. I just don't know how to do them. I just can't get down with it. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind. And then obviously Kickstarters and, audio contracts and all kinds of crazy stuff has happened. So it feels a bit like a snowball, like something worked and then it's just gone bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Everyone always wants to know the tactics. We're going in a different direction because I'm sure you've talked about the tactics on your wonderful podcast. What's the URL for that, by the way, so people know where to find your podcast?
Rebel Author Podcast.
Yeah, go find Rebel Author Podcast. I knew it was Rebel. I didn't want to F up one of the other words in it.
You're fine.
So, awesome. What do you think? Everyone, whether it's perceptible or not, has a mindset shift prior to success. What do you think it was in your mindset that shifted prior to you even seeing the growth? What do you think had to change mentally for things to start kicking over?
I think that I wasn't willing to keep creating a business that wasn't the dream. And so instead of doing what I thought I should be doing, I actually just started doing what I wanted to do. So, a lot of the stuff that I'd written, in terms of fiction was like straight, air quotes, young adult. And actually, I'm like a morally grey dark horse. I was never really meant to write that. So I started writing something that was so joyful for me, like
Yeah.
smutty, sweary, naughty, very, very queer. And it just filled me with joy. And I think that is reflected on the page. And I'd done all the studying, I'd listened to Theodora Taylor and Jennifer Lynn Barnes talking about writing for the id and putting all the stuff in that you love. And I think giving myself permission to do that is what made all of the difference, because then it was easy to market then as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you write something that you love and you're excited about, it's easier to market it. And the marketing becomes fun. And that's one of the things I did a talk at last year's Vegas conference talking about actually enjoying what you're marketing. You're not doing all the million things that people say you're supposed to do. You're just being you in your writing, being you, maybe amped up a little bit for social media. And unsurprisingly, it worked.
And there you go. So you just have to give yourselves permission to do the thing that you like deep down scares you a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Which that's hard permission to give, but folks, proof. Here's some proof. I love this. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm excited. Let's get into all this fun. And go to Sacha's website, sachablack.co.uk. But if you like some of the stuff she's been talking about, go find Ruby Rowe so that you can have some fun with that not safe for work action. Last 2 weeks ago, we had a question of the week, which was, do you consistently work out? If you do, what exercise do you do? Christine Kohler said, I try to do 10 minutes of stretching first thing, then at least 10,000 steps a day. And then I try 10 minutes of weight training. Stacy Claflin says, I use a stair stepper I found on TikTok, but I plan to add back in things like yoga and strength training for more balance. The nice thing about the stepper is that I can easily use it while I'm taking writing breaks. And Steve Hustings said, doing weights twice a week at home and walking the other days. Sacha, what do you do? Not to put you on the spot, but how do you, physically exercise to keep the writing happening?
I love throwing heavy things around a gym. So for me, it's all about weight training. The thing that I struggle with a little bit is consistency. So I used to have like a boot camp type place that I went, but for reasons I ended up not going anymore. And I lost kind of that community feel, which really helped me be consistent. I was there pretty much 5 times a week for 2 years. But now I go for walks and I do weight training, but I am actually looking for another like boot camp type setup because I really like that pressure, I suppose, knowing that other people are working out. You can't let the team down kind of feel. So yeah.
I resonate with that so much. I used to do some classes in person, and there was this woman who was like a little bit faster and stronger than me. So I was like, I will compete with you until I die. And
my number one
that was a part of it.
Sees your competition.
Yes, I see you, my friend. Awesome, folks. Y'all can answer question of the week at Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group or sellmorebookshow.com, which basically resembles a graveyard because nobody goes to it. But feel free. It's very, Halloween appropriate. So let's go to this week's top story. Look what you made her do. Taylor Swift made headlines last week for announcing she would be self-publishing a book celebrating her Eras tour through her new imprint, Taylor Swift Publications, according to Salon. Quote, obviously, Taylor Swift is sort of a case under herself for this stuff in terms of just her reach, Erik Hane, founder of Headwater Literary Management, told Business Insider. But there are a lot of people who aren't as famous as her, but are still doing pretty well, who this kind of thing might make sense for as well, end quote. Swift will release the book exclusively at Target for a retail price of $39.99 on Black Friday. The move put self-publishing back into the national conversation as the article speculates if other big stars will follow her lead. Sacha, when you heard about this, I don't know if you're a Swiftie one way or the other, but what were your thoughts?
So, funnily enough, I only heard about this morning,
Oh,
and
interesting.
I saw Kevin J. Anderson post about it in the 20 Books group, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" Anything that draws attention to self-publishing, I think, is fantastic. And the other thing is she is what Becca Syme would call like a trailblazer. So she is
Yes.
like the first one in, but she will bring other people, like no questions. Other people will follow her lead. She is such an inspiration and entrepreneur. Like, I don't really know her music. I'm so bad that I actually had to ask my wife the other day, what are the Taylor Swift songs? But it's because I'm not very good with like lyrics and things. I did actually know a couple, but not her most famous one, weirdly. Anyway, I think it's fantastic. I think that this is going to shed light to other celebrities, which will only bring more readers to us,
Yes.
because she has such an enormous following that she can have a huge influence on any market, and it will bring people who don't necessarily regularly read will want to read her book just because they're a Swiftie. Therefore, they might get the bug and read, and therefore go into the market and read other things. It is only a good thing for us.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And the fact that, look, this seems like it's mostly going to be a hardcover in Target. It's not necessarily going to cannibalize ebook sales of any kind. But the thing that brings the readers to us is other celebrities, as you said, other people potentially coming into this saying, "Oh, well, if Taylor did it, maybe I can do it too," which potentially just gets these folks thinking in the indie direction.
So, what do you think is a big lesson that authors can learn from Taylor Swift in general as they try to create like their own audiences?
Well, I think this is the big thing, and you brought up Becca Syme already, talking about the trailblazer persona, because there's a lot of authors out there that just can't write to market because they're always tweaking it, they're always making it their own, which then makes it kind of this half monster creation where it's sort of to market and sort of their own thing. But I think with your Ruby Rose stuff, it's a great indication of, well, if you are more yourself and you lean into it and you market it the way you are, it can do a lot better. And I think that Taylor Swift has done this better than anyone ever, basically, for trailblazing things. And so for you trailblazers out there, it's just another indication of be yourself, market yourself. If you take a course on some kind of marketing and it doesn't resonate with you, don't do it, or put it into the 20% box of you not doing it all the time, you doing it less often. But if you take a course and you're like, this is so much fun, oh my gosh, I love doing this TikTok thing, or I love checking these ad stats, or I love doing this, well, that is a clue that is within your persona, that is something you would enjoy. And we have to pay attention to those cues.
I think the other thing she does, maybe for me or for other like indies who are on the entrepreneur side, is
Yeah.
that she is very, very good at the business end of things, keeping control of her intellectual property, capitalizing on her IP, and doing everything. Like she can do it herself, and it's kind of that self-empowerment thing. So I think she's brilliant at that too.
To that point, Sacha, I have talked to 3 authors in the last 60 days who said, this year I tried a little bit of TradPub. This year I signed a contract. This year I had deadlines that were not indie related. And all 3 of them saw their sales overall, even if you combine the TradPub royalties, drop precipitously. And I don't know exactly what the correlation is, but I think that it's because a lot of these authors, their readers were so used to, oh, you release on this certain cadence, you do this marketing thing, but they got distracted. And I think that in a way, indie ruined them because they had to be focused on the indie stuff. And as soon as they stopped, well, things dropped. And I think that, to your point, controlling your IP, controlling what you put out there, controlling your schedule, it all makes a big difference into just making this work for you. So I see you nodding, so I know you agree.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've had a little bit of the other side. I mean, I don't know how trad it is. I mean, I sell my audiobook rights, or I have sold.
Think that. I mean, I think it's more writing deadlines for a trad publisher.
Okay, yeah.
Rather than selling your rights. Selling your rights. Look, I mean, obviously Taylor got her rights back by creating new versions of many of her albums, but selling your audio rights, selling translation rights, I think that can just be smart. I don't think it's exactly apples to apples. So,
no.
So you've dabbled, but not in a way that's going to disrupt your schedule.
No, and if I were to dabble, I would probably write something very specifically for trad that I thought would meet the trad market, and that wasn't necessarily connected to my current thing that's doing well, I think.
Right. Yeah. And though I will say one of those authors did that, and then dropped like a stone.
So I'll be staying indie then.
I know. Stay indie, Sacha. Stay indie. I feel like our question of the week later probably needs to be about Taylor Swift. Maybe we'll get some more attention on it. But I think it's time to do the lightning round, which means we need a lightning sound, Sacha. Ooh, I love it. I think you blew out everyone's eardrums, and I'm here for it. So, Sacha, you recently closed on a 55,000 pound / for our Americans, approximately $70,000 Kickstarter. What do you think were like the best 3 things you did to make that campaign a success for you?
Okay, so I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to have a 4th quick one. But the quick one, I have to give props to Petra, who is rapidly becoming like a operations director, manager person for me. And she is incredible at all of the logistics and organization and just keeping on top of everything. So she was a huge part of the success.
And you have an episode with her on Rebel Author, so folks can go listen to that one.
I do. She's amazing. So this is the 2nd Kickstarter. The first one did about half what this one did. And so I think that one of the biggest pieces was the pre-launch, sorry. Long day, pre-launch period. And, the difference between the first one and the second one, on the first one, we had 289 followers, and that did half. And then this one had 718 followers before we started. So that was a really big difference. And we saw a huge spike on day 1. Like day 1, we far surpassed the whole of the first Kickstarter income. So that pre-launch number of followers is critical, I think. The other thing that I feel I did really well, or that we did really well, because it was a team effort, is that we delivered what the readers actually wanted. So my whole ethos and drive for doing this particular Kickstarter is that queer people don't necessarily get special editions as often as like the straight romantasy books, and when they do, they certainly don't get not safe for work art. So for me, it was all about providing something that's just not accessible to us, or not accessible on the market very regularly. And I think because of that, supply is low and demand is high, and I think that was a huge part of why that worked. But also because of I have at that point, several books behind me, and I knew the type of not safe for work art. I knew how not safe for it to be, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of gotten to know the reader, and I really wanted to deliver what they wanted. So that was really a really key part of it. And then I think the other thing that's important is everything that comes before. So making sure that we had done a marketing plan. We knew when we were going to release the not safe for work pieces of art, because those drove a lot of the sales, and we managed to convert people mid campaign where you normally have quite a big slump. We were converting people in the middle of the campaign. We still saw a slump, but not as bad, because we would release key bits of art and key bits of like sneak peeks and things at the right point. So that pre-launch bit, knowing your marketing plan both for the build up to the campaign and then during the campaign is really important, but also all of that like costings and shipping and making sure that you've got that nailed and you know how much profit you're going to make before you start, I think is critical.
Oh, that makes total sense. I feel like that was a masterclass in 2 minutes. So I truly appreciate it, and I hope everybody listening appreciates it. You got a question for me,
I
Sacha?
do. Sorry. Yes, I got so distracted with talking about Kickstarter.
No, of course.
What steps do you think might be worth taking before you even consider doing a Kickstarter? Do you think like anyone can do it, or
Look, I think that Kickstarters are hard. And they're going to take a lot of work, which is why Sacha had a team. I had a team when I did my couple of Kickstarters the last couple years. It is hard to do alone. Doesn't mean it can't be done. It can be done, but it cannot be done without an audience. You are not going to find people just natively on Kickstarter unless you really, really luck out. We don't want this to be up to luck. So having an email list, having a social media following, these are pretty much non-negotiables if you want a chance to make this work. At the least, having some people who have a social media following, who have an email list, who are your best friends and are going to share it, and they're in your genre and they have the right readership. It doesn't mean you can't do a Kickstarter. If you just have to have pretty low expectations and plan on building this up over several years. Maybe your first Kickstarter is $100 funding. And then maybe your next one is $250 and your next one is $500, but you build that up over time. If you don't have a following on TikTok, Instagram, and or email, it's going to be really, really hard to get as big of a push.
Yeah, absolutely. Visibility is the game for both publishing and Kickstarters, unfortunately, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is, but it can be built over time. Look, Sacha said, 36 quid at the beginning of January 2023, all the way to 18 months later, big Kickstarter, 21 months later, even bigger Kickstarter. So it doesn't have to take long, but it has to be consistent growth.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you a question now. So, would you rather attend a writer's retreat or a writing conference, and why?
So my heart says a writer's retreat, my brain says a conference. I play a very good extrovert game, very, very good, but I usually am broken by the end of any conference that I go to. But that said, without doubt, I have had the most fruitful conversations I think I've ever had at conferences. Like, networking is critical, and I have met so many incredible people and learned. Yes, I've learned stuff in the sessions, but often I pick up nuggets or somebody says something that I find super motivating or inspiring, like in those corridor conversations or the coffees that happen in the morning. And so for me, whilst a retreat is great, I can also go to Starbucks and get some words, but I can't necessarily fly to America all the time and attend a conference and have all of like the big indies in a room at the same time and get that, privileged opportunity to meet, people I've listened to for so long. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that makes total sense. And yeah, it is fun having those conversations at a conference for sure. All right, question to me. I'm ready.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So would you rather teach at a writer's retreat or at a writing conference, and why?
All right, so I like conferences a lot. I just put on a conference here in North Carolina, Self-Publishing Live. It was all about mindset. We're doing the virtual version next week. What time is it? No, it will have started yesterday due to us recording this in the past for the future. But I have really loved the idea and have recently attended some marketing conferences and mindset conferences. So I'm switching the question basically. A writing retreat, Yeah, I feel the same as Sacha does, which is, yeah, I could do the words anytime. But if it is a retreat that is specifically about, well, how are you going to grow? How are you going to improve? What are you going to do next year in order to succeed? And people who know their stuff all kind of trading notes, essentially making it a fully condensed conversation that you'd have at a writers conference that is all about the marketing and growth. I'm all about that. And that is why I'm actually running one in December here in North Carolina. It's a 6 and 7 figure author retreat that I'm really, really excited about. And I'm putting up the money for it. We've got only a few spaces left, so people go check that out. But folks, if you are not having the conversations, whether it's from your Zoom, from a conference, or at a retreat, you need to be talking to people who are doing better than you. Because that's the only way you are going to grow, is if you surround yourself with people who know things that you don't. You need to have that beginner mindset. You need to be willing to be proven wrong. Have those conversations so that you have the opportunity to scale up.
Yeah, I'm even doing that now. Like, my goal at Vegas is to buy coffee and cake for lots of people who are doing 7 figures so that I can reach 7 figures. So yeah, absolutely. Even at the point I'm at now, that new beginner mindset should be always where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. People have trouble with it, but it's absolutely where you should be. Sacha, what's the hardest thing you've given up in order to write more?
Control.
Oh, that's such a good answer.
Control.
That's
like,
such
no
a good
question.
answer. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, control. I'm a control freak, and I got to saturation point. I couldn't do anymore, so I had to give up control and ask for help.
Oh, I know. It's so hard and it's so liberating, right?
It is, yes. And actually, now I've done it, I'm like, yeah, push everything off the desk, which, like, I don't understand how I've managed to flip from a complete diehard, like, I will never give up control, to this is the best thing ever.
Because you realized, wow, this is so much better. It's 10 times better than the previous.
Yeah, and I get to do more of the thing that I really, truly love doing.
Yes. Everybody listen to Sacha. Oh my goodness. So we need a question of the week. Like I said, I feel like in the direction of Taylor Swift. Of course, you and I both don't know as much about Taylor Swift as other people, but what would you ask a question if you could ask a question related to Taylor Swift to this readership, listenership? What do you think?
I would ask, what entrepreneurial thing, in air quotes, has either Taylor Swift or another celebrity done that you feel inspired to bring into book publishing? Is that too complicated?
Ooh, I like that. No. What entrepreneurial thing has Taylor Swift or another celebrity done that you would love to see brought into publishing? Because there's a lot of good stuff there.
Well, there's so many entrepreneurs out there doing exciting stuff, and
you know as well as I do that entrepreneurship is 5 to 10 years ahead of authors at every point. And so we can always take a few clues from those folks. Everyone should go and check out Rebel Author Podcast, should go to Sacha's website at sachablack.co.uk, should go check out Ruby Row if you're into that sort of wonderful thing. But this was fun. I'm so excited that you were able to join this week.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. And you'll be back for next week with the magic of
time travel
podcast publishing. But yeah, any last words of wisdom before we sign off here?
Release control, babies.
Oh, release control. I love it. Awesome. Everyone, for Sacha, I'm Bryan. Have a great week of book selling, everybody, and we'll be back next week with episode 552. Bye.
Bye.